All right, we are back with round one, game three between Off Topic and Off Meds and Beyond All Baguettes. So Beyond All Baguettes have come out strong and they are flexing their French pride. And they have taken OTOM 2-0. So this is actually going to be the deciding match, which is a little scary if you're an OTOM fan, but if you're a fan of Beyond All Baguettes, this is pretty exciting because if they put them down here and they put the series at 3-0, they actually get more points than if it's a 3-1 or if they tie. So awesome for them. And the first games were on, let's see. Let's hop back and take a look. The first game was on Red Rock, which BAB won. Second game was on Erebos, and the third game is on DSD. So how do we feel? What do we think about this? I think this is kind of like the home of OTOM, right? A lot of these guys are map rotation players, so I think they're probably really comfortable with DSD. Any kind of thoughts, Euro? Sorry.
It's definitely a map that we've all played a large number of times, I'd say. It's pretty standard map, and if there's going to be a map that you're going to be fighting for your life in the series in, you know, maybe something comfortable like Delta Siege Dry, good old Delta Siege Dry, to you know, maybe bring it back, get the momentum in your sails, maybe tie things up, get yourself some points. I will say that BAB had a really strong showing on Erebos Lakes. I'd say that they had a strong performance there. The game one on Red Rock Desert, which is a more land-focused map, was pretty close, and I did see some good showings, good moves, and a lot of chances for off-topic, off-meds. So maybe Delta Siege Dry, a bit smaller, a bit more land-based map. We can see some bit of a comeback here for off-topic, off-meds. I'm looking forward to getting into this one, as I love this map. It's a lot of fun to play on.
Yeah, well, I think the top part of this map is a lot of fun to play on. Players are loading in though, so let's see what's going on.
We would never see Whistlers on this map.
Never. That's not happened once in the history of DSDR. We might see some new meta.
Interesting to see teams again taking all of the forward positions, but a different position for their player at the back. It looks like Chummers has woken up and coming to play, so maybe that'll be their second win, their X factor, their star player, bringing in hopefully the air play, spawning as a Cortex commander here in the back.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely one of the leaders of the degenerate side of the entire bar community. So hopefully you're right. That puts some wind in their sails and they'll be ready for action. Looks like Aiden is going to go arm vehicles. Victor is going to go arm vehicles. Aiden, not Jadam on bottom. Lenore is just spamming wind, probably to boost Chummers for air. And then crop rotation is going to be bots on top.
Yeah, pretty commonly you'll see those bots on the top lane.
Yeah. Elsphere is also bots. Lord Vetter is bots as well. So this is actually kind of interesting. As a hill player, how do you feel about Lenore's low ground lab versus Lord Vetter's high ground lab here?
I'd say that it's sort of a risk versus reward type of thing. The low ground lab is a lot more exposed, but it has a much shorter rally. You can sort of skip out on going around that ravine, and you can get right onto the hill a lot easier. Interesting how Lenore is not just building the lab over the edge. He's waiting for his transport, I think. One little known fact is where he's drawn his rectangle. You can actually just walk to the edge of the cliff and place the lab down, but...
Yeah, that's... I like, he drew it there, and I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna build it there, and then he didn't build it. So I guess we'll see. Oh no, and this is Fighter and Scout coming... Oh, but they're going to miss.
It looks like Lenore is going for the lower risk transport to the low ground. If he had gone straight into the transport to the hill, there's a really high chance that he could have gotten sniped by that. Looks like we got a bit of a dogfight going on over this hill.
Yeah, it definitely is. Oh.
And Chummers' fighter comes out on top.
That's awesome. And we've got quite a massive number of scouts on bottom. Let's see, can these rovers actually get in and do too much? Aiden gets his rovers in behind helicopters, but helicopter's comm is here. He's gonna get a max. Oh, and Victor's gonna come in and harass as well. But there are blitz here, and it looks like the blitz are pushing him off. Although Aiden might get another max. Okay, yeah, he gets another mech. I mean, the great part about this, right, is all this rover pressure is locking BAB on their side of the map, and that lets Aiden and Victor come up and take all these mexes, which I think is super critical.
Yeah, if it wasn't for that forward control and the mexes that Victor's grabbed here and that Aiden is moving up towards grabbing, it would be a little bit sketchy for me,
Oh,
just
wait, hold
because.
on. Does Vetter land? Oh,
Wow.
Okay.
Some damage on the transport, but he does manage to get control of that top of that hill. Now, the rally on the lab for Vedor is going to be a bit of a concern here, because it's going to take those units a while to be able to move from the base to the front line. So if Lenore is able to capitalize on that and punish the isolated commander here, he may be able to regain some control.
And it looks like Vetter is trying to flex his 1v1 skills and pour into some other bases, but Chummer says, let me introduce you to the most balanced unit in the game, Shuri's. Good luck raiding.
Yeah, you can balance your cup of tea on top of the Shuriken as it glides at Mach 7 to the front line to stun the units and prevent them from doing anything. Really cool, really balanced.
100%. So Victor has both these mid-mexes, right? And Aiden hasn't taken the mexes behind, but at least he has these. And I feel like there should be...
He's got his front line secured, and I think he's likely to rally a constructor forward to take the mexes soon. He's prioritizing that control of the forward position and trying to deny the mechs to helicopter more than he's prioritized building his own mexes. We'll see if that pays off for him. It's a bit of a gambit.
Yeah, that is interesting, because I feel like helicopter is going to be ahead economically just because he's taking these. If Aiden can deny this other mechs that's up here, that's interesting.
Wow. Lenore is going for some really interesting plays. He's using his transport to bring Centurions to the front line, hot dropping them right on top of the grunts, and he's able to sort of cut the units off from the commander. They're kind of between the Centurions rather have sort of wedged themselves between the commander and his reinforcing units. So if Lenore is able to capitalize on this, he may be able to isolate and kill Vedor's commander on the hill.
Is it worth it to comb bomb in this situation, or do you think he just tries to push him off?
I think it's a little hard with the LLTs that Vedor's built. You kind of want to use some rocket bombs to chip away. But I think that Jaden may miss the opportunity because the commander's able to sort of retreat off the hill here. Got both air players kind of vying for air control over the situation, realizing that these commanders are at high risk here and wanting to be able to have control so that transport play can come in to secure those wrecks if a commander were to die.
Jaden is doing some good micro. Oh, I cursed him. He's doing good micro.
Why'd you open your mouth, Bullshock?
Immediately gets degunned.
And these Centurions are a little bit overextended here as they're able to be picked off by grunts. Like I said, more stuff counters less stuff. These Centurions isolated, they're able to be picked off. And we're actually even seeing some units from S-Spheres, a few grunts coming down to help with this pressure here.
Yeah, Jimmy is trying to push up and apply some pressure as well, but I think this trans goes down. Yep, but nothing's in it, so not too much lost. So it looks
Victor doing a good job down here on the low ground. He's able to take control of this area and prevent Enigma from having any access to the ramp whatsoever.
It looks like Vetter tried to dive Lenore just with grunts, but he couldn't quite pull it off. It was close, and Jaden was actually... Go ahead.
With the Commander's Laser and the Centurions both there, I think the grunts are pretty ineffective. Jimmy's managed to, as you're saying, rotate these units down here to help. I'd actually, if I'm in this game, I'd say that it'd be a good shout for Crop Rotation to share these units to Jadam so that he's able to micro them, and that Crop Rotation can focus his attention on his front on the north there.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And to be fair, I mean, I feel like these scents are like pretty unorthodox. Like we almost never see them, but they just put in work. I mean, they bullied Vetter's calm out because they outrange it, and now Lenore has hill, and that's such a brutal economic indifference. Like because you just don't have that much, and yeah, when you lose those mexes, it's pretty rough. And you are apparently an oracle because those units were shared, and Lenore says thank you, sir.
That's definitely a good play there. I'm a big fan of that. Just letting the player who's actually in the area take more direct control, just definitely the way to go. I would love to see that that thug that was shared placed on the high ground here. It can really zone out a lot of this area around the hill, but instead it looks like Lenore is looking for some pressure onto Enigma, trying to 2v1 with Victor here and try to push that blob of vehicles back.
I like it. I definitely think it's good. Unfortunately, though, it looks like Helicopter is kind of bullying Aiden, but Aiden, can he get this HLT up in time? I think if this HLT gets up, it kind of stalls this push out. The only concern with that is that I think if the HLT is there, Helicopter can just run at Victor's base, right?
There's really nothing forcing Helicopter to fight the tower, and that's even if the tower is able to go up, as it looks like there's a pretty concentrated push on Aiden's commander.
Oh no!
Goes down along with the constructor, the heavy laser tower, and the whole army. This is not looking good for Aiden, as that's going to be a commander wreck going to Helicopter almost 100%, as there's not really anything here to stop him from just eating that up.
Yeah, I mean, the other problem too is he has no army in front, right? So Helicopter can just run at his base. Granted, Whistlers don't really run. They just kind of like...
They'll do a little bit of waddling, you know. They'll make their way forward. I don't know if run is the adjective that I would use.
Yeah, they'll drag themselves very slowly forward. But at the same time, I mean, Enigma is getting kind of bodied 1v2, right? And I think Victor has won this. He's broken the front. So he needs to push up and I think try to kill this base, or he needs to do something to force Helicopter back.
Yeah, and it looks like Helicopter is moving his units back instead of forward to save his team here, as the units are kind of leaking in here. These blitzes are sort of running past. Shurikens doing their thing, stopping the blitzes in place, locking them down. There they go.
Classic Shuri moment. Yeah, and Helicopter says, oh yeah, wait, why am I going to back up and not apply pressure when I can just move forward and apply pressure? So we'll see. Lenore does have these mexes, so that's nice, but unfortunately those hill mexes were kind of offset by the bot lane mexes, and red team is slightly ahead on metal income, and I'm pretty concerned for how Aiden survives here. I feel like he needs like D-claws and some other stuff, but that goes back to the other thing where if Helicopter just flexes up into Victor, I think bot is maybe just lost entirely.
Oh, absolutely, because Aiden is not really in a position to ever catch up on army. He's on +8 metal per second, as he's been denied all of his mexes. He's been given a replacement commander by Chummers, but he is going to struggle to keep himself even alive in this game, and there's just really nothing he can do to stop Helicopter at this point. Helicopter opting to go into Tier 2. I'm not super sold on Tier 2. I think the game could be ended at Tier 1, but he did have a full bar of metal and a Tier 1 vehicle lab, so he can definitely afford the Tier 2. It is a sort of lower risk way of ending the game, but yeah, definitely one of the choices he could have made.
The classic dragon's teeth that could be dragon's claws, so you have to shoot at all of them. I like that from Aiden. I don't know if this HLT is going to be enough. Oh, the HLT is kind of in a bad spot. It needs to be farther down, right? Oh, this is
the Whistlers can absolutely just go around that heavy laser tower. Aiden building another tower, doing a good job repairing this claw, but there's just so many Whistlers out for a Helicopter that it's really only a matter of time until Aiden's base here is whittled down.
Yeah, I almost wish he had swapped out a blitz into, like, I don't know, shell shockers or something to better fight Whistlers, because I feel like it's kind of hard for the blitz to get on top of them, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, blitz are good at getting on top of Whistlers, but it's just sort of that situation where more stuff counters less stuff, and Helicopter does have a lot more stuff.
Yeah. And oh no! Oh, Victor's comm goes down. I don't know what sniped it. How did it die?
It may have just died to this pack of lashers here out of Enigma. Victor may have been focused on something else. It may have just been some really fantastic micro out of Enigma. I was actually looking at Aiden not space. Lenore's commander going down to rocket bots here out of Vedor. Vedor pushing back. Looks like Lenore may have overcommitted into helping deal with that southern play and neglected to defend the hill lane there, and it looks like it's come back to bite him.
Unfortunately, all of Chummers' fighters are a little bit farther back, so Space Drunk gets the bomb. Does he get?
It looks like Chummers is sending out bombers of his own, so it could have been that his fighters were moving with the bombers and out of position to stop the bombers from Space Drunk, as Space Drunk more or less destroys Chummers' entire base.
Yeah, I mean, Chummers bomb, and they have a resign vote out, but Chummers is going to have to work miracles with this bombing run if they want to try to stay in this game.
If the bombing run killed everything, then maybe they could play it out. But I just think that there's not there's they'd have to get so much damage, and the fighters are already out for Space Drunk, shooting the bombers, so it's only a matter of time before these bombers are stopped. If we can get some really serious economic damage onto these windmills from Space Drunk, there might be a shot.
Yep, they are spread though, unfortunately, so it's not like they're going to chain. Yeah, no, I mean, there's 2 bombers left. Does he get...
In a different game state, I'd say this is pretty good damage, but it's just too little too late. I don't think it's going to be enough.
Yeah, and Helicopter finally finished off.
Crop rotation is producing Sheldons in the north, but they resign anyway, as it looks like the writing is on the wall. They've been thoroughly cooked down there in the south, and it's not like Tier 2 isn't out for BAB either, so...
Yeah, that was just funny timing. He's got Sheldons and a resign vote that passes. You know, Helicopter has performed incredibly well, I think, in all of these games. I feel like he's had top eco basically in every game, and he's put in a ton of work.
Yeah. Vedor also having a really good showing. You know, I knew he was a good player, but he's really shown just not only the 1v1 skill, but that also he's able to really put in the work and carry his team here.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think he's done awesome. Both those players have done awesome. It's pretty cool to see kind of like that quote unquote lower OS French team just basically destroy OTOM. I mean, that's 3-0. Definitely game 1 was a lot closer. And I think game 3 there were moments where it looked pretty good for OTOM, but I feel like BAB was able to just sort of pull it back, which, you know, was awesome. It's good for them.
Some really good rotations, really good reactions out of BAB, and you know, there was some initial plays that were in the south that OTOM went for that were sort of high risk, and that they didn't quite follow up on, like the rovers scouting, getting the forward position, but the metal donated and not quite getting enough damage meant that Helicopter was able to get to that critical mass of whistlers sooner because Aiden's mexes weren't captured. Because of that, that sort of did eventually swing in the long run in favor of Helicopter with a more stable, more economic focused build.
Yeah. And I also think that it was just a little rough because Helicopter took those bottom mexes so early, and it felt like Aiden, I think Aiden opened 2 con and he didn't have a 3rd con to go take those mexes. And it felt like it was like a couple minutes where Helicopter was like either 4 metal or 6 metal ahead of him. And those small, especially like the small numbers, those Whistler engagements where if you have 1 to 2 more Whistlers, or like same thing with rocket bots, it feels like the lane is like really, really hard to win. And then once you start losing them, it just snowballs. So go ahead.
Another point there is that Aiden had the air player behind him, whereas Helicopter had empty space behind him. So he may have had an even bigger mex advantage due to that.
That's true. I actually didn't even think about how imbalanced that was. Lenore took the other mexes, and then Jimmy took those. Yeah, I mean, that's something that I didn't think about. I feel like they had a good scout, so they would have seen that. So maybe they just didn't react in time, but hopefully for future series, they can maybe give Aiden a little bit more metal so that he can actually fight on even ground. Cause that's one of those really hard losses where you're like, wait, what did I do wrong? And then when you look at the replay, you're like, oh, he had double my metal income. Like there's no
more stuff better than less stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
Fortunately, he has more metal income, so he's able to make more stuff. They were playing with sliders down, so it does mitigate it a little bit, but still, just having those extra mexes does, you know, make things a little bit easier for Helicopter there.
Awesome. All right. And that is it. That was game 3. There will be no game 4 between OTOM and Beyond All Baguettes, but Beyond All Baguettes takes it 3-0, so they are going to move up with more points, and OTOM is going to move down, and we'll see them in future rounds.
Really strong showing out of Beyond All Baguettes, starting off strong here today, and I was kind of surprised by their performance. I was expecting a much more close series, just based on the true skill numbers and also just being more familiar with the players on off-topic off meds, but as I said, great showing out of Beyond All Baguettes, coming out strong.